I'm Tommy Ford.
And I'm Rick Morton. Today's guest is Birmingham native Curt Jarvis, defensive tackle for Alabama from 1983 to 1986. Played through the Ray Perkins era, which is one of the most challenging periods in program history. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1987. After a career-ending injury, he became a pilot, has remained a proud Alabama fan.
Well, Rick, before we dive in, make sure our listeners and viewers are subscribed to Crimson Chronicles on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Drop a comment, hit that like button, and share this episode with every Alabama fan you know.
Hey, and Tide fans, don't forget anyone can join the University of Alabama National Alumni Association. Whether you're a graduate, a student, or you just bleed crimson and white, you can access exclusive benefits with the Alabama family worldwide and support the university. Download their smartphone app today and explore membership benefits at alumni.ua.edu.
All right, well let's move ahead to draft day 1987. Coach Perkins has left Alabama, and Bill Curry had been hired. Of course, your days were over with, and you were waiting around in the draft or for the draft. And you were drafted seventh round by Tampa Bay, which happened to be the new destination of Coach Ray Perkins.
I was
Where were you when you found out that you'd been drafted by Ray Perkins and the Tampa Bay Bucks?
well. First of all, people forget this, and I try to remind them. I was drafted before Bo Jackson, because if you remember, Bo went in the first pick. Tampa, he stopped playing for Tampa, and so then the next year he went back in the draw. I was the first pick in the seventh round, and Bo got drafted behind me a couple of times. I tell everybody, well, I was drafted before Bo Jackson. But anyway, no, I the teams that I thought were going to get me was the New York Jets, Tampa Bay, and then Denver. And because of Coach Al Miller, he was the strength conditioning coach. He, basically stood in and said, "Hey, you need to get this guy, whatever." So that's where I was going to go. But they were all concerned because I started having some issues. I had never missed a game in my life until I think it was my I had a neck issue. And so it just, kind of there, it had stingers and all that. So I knew, and Coach Perkins and I knew I was probably going to drop in the bit because, everybody that interviewed me when I went to the combine, and I got interviewed by, and that showed interest. And the biggest thing they about was what's the deal with your neck? And they, getting doctors to look at my neck. And so Perkins told me, he said, I'm going to get you in the fifth round, probably the fourth. And so I'm like, okay. Not that I knew I was going to be a first rounder, but I'm thinking, okay. So I'm at my apartment, Shula, and we're sitting there, and first round goes by, which I knew I wasn't going to go in the first round. Second round, keeping with, third round comes, I should be hearing my name. Fifth round comes, and else, and I'm going, whoa. Sixth round, I'm getting worried. Back then they had 12 rounds. And I'm wetting it. And then the seventh round came in first pick, or right before they announced the pick, my phone rings. And it was, so I answered, and Jessica goes, we're fixing to draft you. I'm like, where had you been? I go, it's the seventh round. He goes, well, he goes, we got you at a bargain. He said, want you down here in the morning. There'll be a plane ticket waiting on you. And so I'm like, okay. So I hung the phone up, told Shu, I said, hey, they're fixing to announce my name. Of course, they announced it, whatever. And so, you know, and the next thing, but anyway, so it was exciting. I was a little worried that I had to be the biggest, tell you one of the biggest things happy about. Not love being Coach Perkins. I just, like I said before in the podcast, I just understood him. I appreciated the way he coached me. But the biggest thing was I was getting to go with Mike Dubose. Now, you talk about a love-hate relationship. I Coach Dubose, and I tell him to this day, I mean, we're now like him. Did not like him, but I loved him coaching me. Mm-hmm. And because so hard on it, and just but he taught me so much about the game. I could never please him. Now, when I don't like him, I didn't like. I could never please him. I remember we had a game, and I was in the NFL, and I can't remember who we were playing, but anyway, I had him to do was pet me, just pet me, show me some love. So I went through, hit the quarterback. He fumbled the ball, and the ball got on the recovery. So go off, game ends. We watched film in the morning. So I remember sitting in our defensive line meeting, and we're just watching the film, and Dubose is going over, hey, got to do this, got to do that, and I see this play fixing to come up. I'm like, he is finally going to love on me. He is going to brag on. He was it, boom, do a rip technique, go through task, hit quarterback, ball fumble, get the fumble recovery. And I'm just sitting back going, show me some love, baby. And he runs the film back, and he goes, look at your feet. He goes, feet right. He goes, your leg. He goes, your feet. You know. And I remember going, I give up. But you know what? That was the best thing for me, because he never let me be satisfied. Never let me be satisfied. He was a tough guy to play for. He was a very tough guy to play for. And because he did not want excuses, he didn't want anything. I mean, and he would get mad. We were playing Chicago Bears. We called time out. We're fixing to beat the Tom Zach was quarterback. We're the Bears. Fourth quarter, they got to score 4. Had 2 minutes left in the game, whatever. So we called time out. So I go over there, Coach Dubose's hand up on the shoulder pad, and I just love getting love. You know, what little love he would show for you, I love getting it. And he goes, all right, Kurt. He goes, you know, try to keep him out. The biggest thing, don't let the quarterback get out of the pocket. And you know, he's going over what, you know, that he goes, says, don't run any stunts. You know, he said, just keep him in the pocket. I said, okay. So we run back out there. We call it defense break huddle. I know they're fixing to pass. And I'm about to be a hero. So what I do, I call a stunt. I go, because he ain't going to get out of the pocket, because I'm going to be back there. I'm going to be all over him. Now, Dubose just got through telling me, don't let him out of the pocket. Probably not a good time to call a stunt or game, whatever they call it now. Well, I did it anyway. And it was a great call, by the way. It was the perfect call for that. And I come running around, and there's Tom Zach sitting right there. Well, I go, and my arm hits him about in his stomach, and I'm fixing to bring him down. Somehow he gets away from me, and he went a field for like 20 yards, gets the first down, and I'm like, and I look, well, I see Sean Lee running out. Sean Lee was the other nose tackle. And I really wanted to go to Ditka's side. I wanted to go to Chicago's side, because I don't want to go to the side. I don't want to stop on it. So Dubose is standing there and he had that look in his eye. I mean, if he could have slit my throat, he would have done it. And he jumped. I mean, it reminds me jumping crazy. It reminds me of me getting chewed out by Dubose this one particular day. So I go over there and he is just gnawing on me. I mean, just one thing after another. It was so bad. He made me sit on far end of the bench. And when the players came off, he wouldn't let any of the defensive linemen sit beside me. He goes, because I don't want, and so somebody came and sat beside me, turned around and goes, get away from Jarvis. He goes, I don't want any of his dumb A rubbing off on y'all. He wouldn't let me. I'm a professional. I mean, I'm 25 something years old. Get some money, got a little something, stuff. He would not let them sit beside me the rest of the game. Wouldn't let them talk to me. And so I just so anyway, I should have done what he said, but that's why going back to, but I was really excited because I was going to get to go to play for Coach Dubose and loved him. Like I said, and I probably came across to him when I said didn't like him. I always liked him. He was a tough guy to play for, but if it had been, I would have never been the player that I was. And I really appreciate him. He was at Miss Perkins' funeral, but they left early. I wanted to talk to him. Yeah. And Dubose, I mean, they were two guys that I could never repay them for what they did for me. I could have a lot of respect for them.
Curt, you talked a little bit about the fact that you had an expectation that you might be drafted a little bit higher. You were drafted the 7th round. Was that motivational to you?
Yeah, well, people always say that, this motivates me. I've never had a problem being motivated. I loved playing. I understood later that I failed because everybody concerned about mine. And Perkins knew that I had followed his list because my neck made a great move by getting me in the 7th. And I tell him all the time, I go, you got a bargain. No, but that, it didn't, I've always been motivated, motivated for what I want to do. My wife has this saying, she goes, I'm not on time for anything unless it has to do with scoreboard points. If I'm motivated, I'm on time going there. If I'm not, I'm not. So it has to be what I'm motivated for. So it wasn't, he wasn't really, I was motivated anyway, just because I was in the NFL. I wanted to make this team. I'm following these dreams. I had thought about it since I was, so I kind of let that go, that I fell in, and now it's, hey, make the team, make a difference, move the needle. No matter what you do, you're gonna move it to the bad, you're gonna move to the good. I wanted to move the needle good. So I've never had a problem being motivated. So if they would have drafted me in the first round, I would have been motivated, So I just wanted a chance to play because I was the game.
Oh, Curt, you played nose guard in Tampa's 3-4 defense and started, I guess, 3.5 seasons. What was the biggest adjustment from college to the NFL?
Very easy. Speed of which things happen. The speed that happens, it made me feel like the college was the same thing. From high school to college, it's the speed at which things happen. From college to pro, same thing. Things happen a lot quicker. And I was considered probably one of the quickest nose tackles in the nation. I mean, when I was in college, quick, could run, do all that. When I got to Tampa, our very first day, we had a center named Randy Grimes. We called him Bubba. He'd go out to practice with a chew tobacco in his mouth. He was from Texas. And during practice, he'd just chew tobacco. And he 7, weighed about 2'8", just had these big, massive guns. And I'm like, so we had our first where we lined up against each other. And I can remember things were going, I mean, what speed is. He ain't seen what I got. Went there and he snapped that ball and hit me before I ever got out of my stance. And I was, good God. And I looked over at Duke. So I didn't. I never got out of my stance. He hit me with his offhand and snapped the ball before I got out of my stance. And looked up at Dubose, and he's kind of smiling, going, "It's a little different here, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes, it is." I ended up catching, but that's what I tell people all the time. The guys that can't get to that next level, going, because when I got to Alabama, I mean, I was parade, All-American, all that kind of stuff. When I got to Alabama, the 4-string center was kicking my butt 9 ways from Sunday because happening then to the NFL. Randy Grimes hits me before I get out of my stance and snaps the ball. And so you got to be able to make that next level. And it'll take a while. It took me 2 or 3 weeks. And to go, okay, I got to get adjusted to this, or I'm going to go home and sell insurance or whatever, because you're not going to be here if you don't make it. And so that's the biggest adjustment, is the speed at which things. And I got more winded in college because we ran more. You got to, run, chase after the ball. And in the NFL, I didn't get as winded because now we're professionals. If it's Eric Dickerson and they're running the sweep away from me, and he, 25 yards ahead of me, there's no sense, because I'm not going to catch you. I'm just expending energy. So I didn't get as winded. I hurt after the game because you got guys that are bigger, that are just as fast as the fast, strong, as fast, and quick as the guy best you played against in college. And I hurt longer. I mean, I hurt more because, it's some of these guys we tackled, just crushing runners, and they were big, and they were strong, and they knew what they were doing. You play up, my very first I ever played, I had gotten hurt rookie year. Of course, his year was strike, so I had gotten put on injured reserve. Was over with. I was off injured reserve, so I start at defensive end of all. Back then it was the Los Angeles Rams. I'm playing against is Slaughter. What's Slaughter's first name? He'd been in the league. So, I forgot how many, 10 years. Huh?
Enos Slaughter?
No, it wasn't Enos. It was, he's from Southern California. I'll think of his name first minute, but his last name was Slaughter. And I remember watching him when I was in high school. I watched him play in high school. And so we break the huddle. I'll go there, and I've been watching film. I'm just like, God, I cannot believe I'm playing against this guy. I cannot believe, oh my gosh. It just, I'm kind of nervous, and, I'm like, I don't want to look him in the eye. I don't want to, So we break the huddle, and he runs up to the line, and he goes, "Hello, Curt." And I was like, but he tell you what he did though. He after the game, he came up to me, and this meant so much to me. But after the game, he came up to me and kind of swatted me on the back, and he said, "Hey, rookie, you did a great job today. He said, you're going to be a force in the NFL. He goes, good job. And ran off. Slater.
Wow.
Can't believe I still got his first name, Slater. But anyway, just tremendous, you know, and it's what you had. You were playing against guys you used to watch in high school. And, you know, and of course I played games in, then I got hurt and got my neck. So then they put me back on IR. And so my rookie year was kind of, you know, went on strike and I'd gotten hurt. Then I got to play, had some success, and playing, starting. I mean, the first NFL game I'd ever attended in my life, I started. You know, I was playing in a position that, you know, that I don't. But that's yes, that was yeah, that was a good. I remember they calling my name out. I'm running out of the tunnel the week there. They were introducing the defense, and they called my name, running out on the field and just going, I cannot believe I'm running out on this field right now. It was like a dream to me. And just, you know, that was one of the, hey, I would have appreciated this more when I was doing it and all that. It was one time in my life where I can say, hey, you know, knew what was going on. I knew the importance of it, and I drew interest in it, you know, and I appreciated the opportunity that I had. And you know, just gives me cold chills now, just remembering that feeling running or going, I'm playing in the NFL, you know, it's crazy. Say,
By the way, it's Jackie Slater. Jackie
Slater, yes. He great
nickname,
guy.
Big Bad Jackie. Big Bad Jackie is his nickname.
It had to be, well, I've been out fishing all day today. And so I got a new boat. I've been out in it twice. Still hadn't been in the fish in that boat yet. I was freezing the whole time. Just, yeah, I'm just, I love fishing, but I'm horrible.
Well, 1990, you suffered a serious back injury. Can you walk us through what?
Yeah, it was a neck injury. And it was the same thing that kind of started back when I was a junior. That's when it started rearing its head. I can remember the first time I'd hurt a neck. I think it was my junior year, but I missed a game. And my father girls practice, and you didn't miss. I remember I had the flu time, and they wouldn't let me. This was in high school. My dad made me go to practice. I had to sit away from everything. I mean, it was a bad flu too. And then I played the game. We were playing with Jordan. And at halftime, they hit me with an IV because I was just sitting there shivering. But you didn't miss this, and you didn't miss games. That was Curt Jarvis's thing. Don't do that. And so I missed a game, and I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. I mean, it felt like a failure. So anyway, going on, we're playing San Diego Chargers in the old Jack Murphy Stadium. I'm playing against a guy. His name was Thomas. He wasn't the linebacker, Broderick Thomas, but he was a rookie, and I'd been there 4 years. I'd figured it out, you know, and this guy, he was an offensive guard. They had an injury, so they had to move him at center. It was his first time he was ever playing it, and it's, you know, is probably in his life, and he's having to do it in the NFL against a guy who'd been 4 years. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm gonna have a field day on this one, because a lot of it is just experience, and it wasn't. Then I did have a field day, all over the place, but he had the experience, and I was taking advantage of that. Having a career game, he ended up being an all-pro, but his rookie year just too while to get adjusted. So it's in the third quarter. A few games before that, I had gotten hit pretty hard by Alonzo Highsmith. We were playing Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, and I don't remember being in the state of Texas. I remember getting on the plane to go to Dallas on Saturday. Next thing I remember waking up Monday morning in the hospital in Tampa. So that whole trip was, and I never lost consciousness. That was the funny thing about it. So anyway, so I had a pretty bad concussion a couple of weeks before that. And of course, the concussion protocol back then was let us know when your head quits hurting, and then you're ready to go. So a little bit different now, but so, and it had done a little bit something that kind of had some problems feeling in my hand. But anyway, so we go and we're playing San Diego Chargers. I'm playing against, they had some pretty good teams and had big running back, and I was going out. I had Shed Broderick, the center, and the running back turned it up. And I remember thinking, if I'm going to make the hit, I'm going to have to jump and get him. And his name was Marion Butt, by the way, one of the very first big running backs. So I see Marion about to cut it up, and so I just jump to hit him. So see Marion fixing to turn it up. Anyway, hit leg, he got my thigh, my head hit his thigh, collapsed it, threw it back. I did make the tackle. So I'm laying there on the ground. Chris Smith, who's a trainer at Alabama, where I'm trying out, he said, "Hey, it's the Stingers." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I got hands," and I said, "Get that guy." Well, as soon as I say that, Chris starts kind of wigging out a little bit, going, "Hey, slow your breathing down. Don't try to move. Don't." And I'm like, "What, Chris?" And he goes, "There's nobody on you. We think you broke your neck. Just kind of leave your body," and you start making promises to God that you'll never ever, and just going wild. Anyway, taking me off the field, hospital, that board thing, and all my stuff off of me. Anyway, got back that night, or actually I didn't come back with the team in San Diego. That night, as it went on, if you ever been sitting on your legs just go to feel, they start going to sleep, and that was the first sensation I got in my leg. And so the doctors came in there and said, "Hey, that's a good thing." They said, "You didn't break your neck. We don't know what else happened." So make to Tampa the next day and go get a bunch of tests. Go 2 weeks. Everybody's texting me, every doctor that they made. It turns out I have spondylosis, and I guess anybody can have it, but it's the spinal column. And when I hit Marion, it bruised my spinal cord, and it's just kind of cut off the communications with leg brain. To put it in very simple terms, is how I need to explain it. And about being blessed and knowing God had me. The next, a guy named Mike Utley, exact same injury as I did, and to this day he's still in a wheelchair. So his had swollen up so much, damaged it. So yeah, I hate my career came to an end. That was my last play, but I've been blessed beyond measure because I'm still walking around, and that didn't happen. So, so that was basically the end of a 21 at the old Jack Murphy Stadium. And I actually tell you the day, it was 28th, 1990. So anything time going to aviation. I loved airplanes. My next full-time job that I got was with Honorary Airlines. They were a commuter out of Cincinnati. And that was the job I ever got later, and my hire date was October 28th. So did the career on October 8th, and I started next October 28th, 6 years in between. So,
Well, we're certainly going to get into your flying career, but first we got to pay the bills here. Tide fans, if you're not already subscribed to Crimson Chronicles, hit that subscribe button on YouTube right now. We're bringing you stories like Curt's every week, the legends, the grinders, the unsung heroes of Alabama football. Comment below with your favorite Ray Perkins era memory or Curt Jarvis memory, and let's keep this Alabama family connected.
Don't forget, the University of Alabama National Alumni Association is for everyone who loves the Tide. You don't have to be a graduate to join. Get access to exclusive networking, career resources, alumni events, and so much more. Download the app and explore membership at alumni.ua.edu. So let's get back to Curt's story. So, Curt, we talked about, I mean, you mentioned your aviation career. In the off seasons, you began to take flying lessons. But I really want to hear what drew you to flying, and tell us about the letter that you wrote to Delta Airlines when you were 11 years old, and how that came into play years later.
I told this for so many times, everybody's probably sick of hearing it, but drew me to airplanes was fascinated by airplanes. My dad and I, when I was a little boy, we would go to Birmingham Airport out there where you could watch airplanes take off and land on. He had an old 73 Ford pickup truck, and with top door chairs that used to be the ramp thing. Just and sit in them and take some lunch. We'd watch the airplanes take off. But the thing that got me, just, there were a couple of things that happened. The first one was we're going, and I can't remember how old I'm, 11, 12, something like that. And actually before that, because it was 73, 74. So I was probably around 8 years old. So we're going to Disneyland or Disney World. And back before they had jetways. So we're walking up the stairs there. You walk across the tarmac and then go the stairs and go up the airplane. That's how long ago this was. I can remember seeing the Delta airplane. And I just remember seeing the captain standing up there at the doorway, had his hat, had his double-breasted suit, and just, had his gold buttons and gold wings. And I'm just going, wow, look at this, So I look up in the cockpit of 727, so we're 3 up there. And the guy that was a flight engineer, he said, come on up. And so I got to walk into the cockpit, all those buttons and just fascinated by that. It was just like a big, like a coat hanger to me, because I didn't know what any of that stuff was. I wanted to know about it. What does this do? What does that do? That. So, and then the next, Dad was in the Air Force. He didn't fly. I went down to Maxwell with him one day. He had a base, and I went, and he left me out at a playground, and these planes came into land, and I'm just standing at the gate, and I'm looking at the planes, and the crew off of these were C-130s. And one guy goes, hey, they had their jumpsuits on with their flight wings on chest. And I was just like, oh, man, look at that. All on the airplane. So when they showed me this and showed that, and I was just enthralled. I just how does it, and anyways, I was fascinated by that. But after the after the trip to Disney World, I'm telling my dad, I go, I said, what do you got to do to fly for Delta or for, be a pilot? And so my dad got me to write this letter to Delta. And it was basically, you could tell an 8th grader wrote it, but he made me write it out. And basically, my name's Curt Jarvis, I'm now whatever I was. And I said, I've flown, I took off my very first flight, and I know what it takes to be a pilot at Delta Airlines. And so I split her off. We're not expecting anything. Maybe a letter going, hey, need this. Well, about this big box comes. And it was like wings, had a hat in there. It said some other, just stuff. And there was this going, well, hey, for your interest in Delta Airlines, we thought you'd like to have a few souvenirs or, some things from Delta. And this is our requirements to be an airline. And it required. And 1974, and when this was done. So, I, all except going, hey, this is all I got to do. So then life goes on. I start playing football, but I grew up I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And this was even before Top Gun. So anyway, go play football, learn how to fly, and just getting rating here, doing this, and just flying anything that I could have the opportunity to fly just to get time. And get hired about a couple, and then I get with Cockpit and I went and interviewed. I got an interview with Airbus, and so back then it was 3 days of interviews. You had to do testing, and I remember I had to get a tutor because I had forgotten how to do fractions. And I probably never knew how to do fractions to begin with, but I had to just going to be just a thing. And so I had to tutor. I'm 20-something years old, 29 years old. Tutor was algebra and all this kind of stuff. I aren't. So what? But I was going to be prepared for this test. I'm like, I'm going to be ready for it. And so I went there, first day, the next day, the test was all day. The next day, you had to go to see the psychiatrist. Whoa, this may be a tough one for me. It's kind of see the psychiatrist, everybody had to go through this. So then the next day, you come in for the interview, and excuse me. So I go in, human resource person there, the pilot that flew from Delta. And so they asked me questions, and they get knowing. And I told, I tell all guys that want to fly, I go, the biggest thing, once you get all your ratings and you see you're going to be you make good decisions, and you're going to be, you're not going to, try to kill anybody or anything like that. And that you get past that point is they want to know, can you spin for Cockpit with this guy? It's what they're trying to find out. And so we're just kind of carrying up. Well, at the very end, they go, why should we hire you, nobody else at Delta? So stop it there. I'm going to back up. When I got that stuff in that box from the airline back in 1973, 74, my mom was a pack rat. that. So when I told her, you said, yeah, get an interview with Delta, she else. So we went downstairs in the basement, went around the shelf, looked, and she took a box, and it was that box they sent me. She'd kept it that long. And so like covered in dust. And so I took it and I looked through it, and there was a letter in there. That of what the requirements were. Delta. And normally I don't think like this, but for some reason I thought I need to keep this letter. And so I just got it, put it in my briefcase. And so I went and did the interview. At the very end, they said, you for anybody else airlines. And so then I began to tell them the story. 1973, I had full flight and letter, and y'all wrote me back, and I told them the story, and I'm not smooth at all, but I'm kind of, and I pulled this letter out I'd written to ask what I knew, what I had to do to get to Delta Airlines. And I said, y'all gave me this letter and it's got a list of the things I needed. And I said, I've covered every one of those things. And I just handed it. And so the pilot, I mean, they're just sitting there looking at me going, oh, well, that's good. Pilot looks at it and says, oh, I knew this. He starts talking about it. He goes, yeah, I flew with it. He's retired, da. And whoever the person was that, I guess it was somebody in the office or whatever, but this pilot knew who the guy was. And so, at that point I thought, I think I may have one, sure. So anyway, they brought me back. I went out, then they brought me, they said, stay here. Came back a little bit later and they said, hi, Delta Airlines, be here. This was in 99, December or something like that. But anyway, they gave me a hire note. They said, be here January 5th. Your hire date will be January 6th, which is 2000. And so that's how that unfolded. So, just very. And it turns out, and I kind of knew I was okay, or I knew we were right since the person that this office was. I look back and I see a picture of Denny Chimes, and I'm going, that's a conversation. They have kids that went off. I'm like, well, I may not get the job, but we'll have to talk about it. So, anyway,
well, Curt, before I ask the next question, just tell our viewers and listeners. I mean, you're what, 27 years into a career with Delta. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you're flying now, and
yeah,
kind of an update
I got 4 years
flying career.
Yeah, I had the great career. Just really thoroughly enjoyed being at. I've made it up to the Airbus A350. I do Johannesburg. Elon, who I kind of give you a hard time. You're like, where's Inchon? His soul, actually. But go to places like that, and I never joined. I mean, I can remember the first time I ever flew an airplane that I had to reach up to start the engine. I'm thinking, boy, I have arrived. I was within the next career was I flew a plane that had one flight attendant, and I'm like, man, I have arrived. I've got a flight attendant. And so then I remember, and I tell everybody this, when I finally said I did Delta, I'd been Delta a couple of years, 2, 3 years, 4, 5 or something like that. And I'm a first officer doing, on a 76ER, and I'm doing national. And we'd go to Europe and, flights on international. I go to Paris. And when you get up over there, sleep's all messed up, you can't. So waking up early, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go for a jog, and it was still dark, but so I just get out and I'm kind of jogging along, just, and then when the sun's coming, and as the sun coming up, I'm jogging under the Eiffel Tower, and I'm kind of stopped and I looked around, and I go, there are many people from Dell doing this today, I just was like very. It was wasn't a bragging thing. It was like, I'm so thankful and blessed for giving me way more than I deserve. And I'm sitting here jogging under the Eiffel Tower, and just taking it all in. So anyway, so now this is my retirement airplane. I got retired 4 years. We have to retire at 65. And I'm on the Airbus 350. And, it's a cool airplane. And, we get to take on, I'd be on an airplane for 17 hours. And so I got bumped. And so anyway, it's been such a cool, it's been along for the ride. Tons of people to help me, tons of mentors. Good Lord kept me, put me in positions where he make a contact here or have this opportunity. And I've just been along for the ride. And that's from football to just life in general. I've just been blessed and certainly don't deserve any of it. Certainly appreciate it.
Well,
I don't take
from
it
from a personal standpoint, I appreciate what you've done for our son, John Michael. And as I've told you, he's about to start a career with American Airlines, PSA, which is their American Eagle regional. But he is literally this month about to start his aviation career. He's been flying since he was 16. He got his driver's license today. He turned 16, his solo pilot's license 2 weeks later. But thank you for your encouragement to him through all these years.
And you're more than welcome, but I want to brag on him for everybody to know this. And I've already told you, but I have people coming to me daily. Hey, what I got to do to be a pilot? What I got to do? Da da da. John Michael is the only one so far since I've asked me, hey, what I got to do to be a pilot? He is the only one that has put the work in, did what it took, and went all, because it's tough. Especially when you do it, if you don't go to the military, do it at the military way is tough as well. When you do it privately, it's work. I mean, you have to go kill you. There's all kinds, but I respect him so much of all the people that ask me that. And I'm telling you, it's almost daily. He is the only one that I said, hey, here's what you got to do, this, and this. And he's the only one that did it, that put the work in, that didn't quit, that didn't go, well, I'm going to take a break here, I'm going to do this. No, he put his blinders on and went, this is what I'm going to do. So proud of that. I'm so proud of him.
Well, thank you.
And real, because, and I respect him. So you will never know, and none of the, never, but I know what he put into. I know the work he put in, and just respect him. I'm very proud of him. Very proud.
Thank you. Proud daddy moment here. You could have told all those people that asked you to, hey, write a letter to Delta, and in 20 years your dreams will come true.
Yeah, all you gotta do is just sit around and wait. They
happened in between.
Yeah.
Well, Curt, let me ask you a question. Back to your football. How did football and your long career prepare you for an aviation career?
Everybody this at the same way. It did prepare. It's totally opposite. Had to relearn, and here's why. when you're playing it's in football, it's kind of controlled rage. You get mad if something goes bad, just work harder and just grit your teeth and try harder and put, it's controlled rage there. When you get in an airplane, and that's when you've got to calm down, take a deep breath, and just go, let me look at this. What I have, what is the problem? And you got to slow down and see the big picture. And so when I first started my training, practice engine out stuff like this, I had a thing in my boom. Oh, we got to do this. And it took me a lot of learning to go, hey, here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why did we lose the engine? 1, 2, 3, 4. What do I need to keep flying? And 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I'm saying? Off an engine. All right. Now, what are our memory items? Take a breath. Do the memory items. Take a breath. And now, what we got? Let's go into the book. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slow down. Slow is fast in there. Because if you're not careful, you're going to get yourself a situation. You start flipping switches and you're going to lose something. So that was the biggest thing, is I had to totally change my approach at looking at things like that, dude. Because I just wanted to be quick. Oh, got to be quick. I'm going to be the fastest person in the world to secure that in. That ain't how it works. That is not how it works. So saying what prepared things that football did for me, afforded me, gave me, and I could go out and take lessons, But you need to, anything. Any time people have goals and stuff, you just got to keep, because it's going to get boring. And I tell everybody, I even told John Michael, I hit a lull where you don't feel like you're making progress. And I go, this lull doesn't last for a week. If that lull lasts for a year or 2 years, because you're here doing this, you got a crappy job, you're flying crappy airplane, afraid, things that go you. And I said, but then one day something will happen and it'll just light your fire again. So I said, if it's really what you want to do, don't give up on it. And so he said, very proud. But anyway, so that's the difference, So
Thank you, Curt.
For that.
That's so good. Curt,
Right?
you've been an honorary captain at a game. What's it like to walk on the field after all those years to be an honorary captain?
Well, the biggest thing, because I was trying to think, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I've been back on that field since my last game. I might have maybe one time. I think they brought Coach Perkins' first class back. Yeah, so I'm time. But having said that,
There we go. Check that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So being there, that's the biggest thing that stood out. I looked around the players. I'd have got, okay, if I'd been playing this day in time, I'd had been a linebacker, because I ain't big enough to be a Z. Guys are huge, fast as we did, So I was like, I wouldn't have made it here as a defensive lineman. But yeah, it was, everything's, the stadium looks nothing like what it looked when I played in it. The guys are still the same. So the same personality, just different faces, it was fun. Yeah, I did do 2 years of GA, but I'm just a player. I was thinking, I know I've been back on the field. I forgot it. I did 2 years, but it's different when you're coaching.
Yeah.
But it's part of the you're part of the stadium. But just me going back as a player, walking out to the coin toss, just, it brought back a lot of memories. But like I said, so much has changed. It didn't, it just different, and I'm certainly an honor to let me do that. And I appreciate that more than anything. But there comes a time when you look around and kind of go, this is not my game anymore. This is my house. This is not my house. This is my people, but they're not my people anymore. I mean, not in my game, but it's not my game anymore. So I just want to go away and just, hey, I'm leaving it with y'all. People ask me sometimes, hey, do you ever get a sideline? I have no business being on that sideline. Zero. And, so because it's not a game anymore. When it was, and I literally have every once in a while, and this happened about 2-3 years ago. I remember that Dabo Sweeney called me in this dream. He called me and said, hey, we found out you had another year eligible. I need you at nose tackle. And I remember I'm running out on the field. And it wasn't in Alabama, just playing for Dabo, and I was playing my helmet on and my shoulder pad, running out on the field, and I woke up. And I'm just laying there. I remember I started getting a tear in my eyes because I wanted to go back to sleep and feel that again. Feel that. And it just broke my heart because I'm going, I got to go back to sleep and find that dream again, because I was feeling the same thing. Right now, it's making my spine tingle and just my skin thing. And I was just laying there, and I kind of had tears, and I did. I was reminded of what an honor it was out there. And not necessarily, certainly it was a great honor to represent Alabama. Tried to represent Alabama, not get into any trouble, and be able to proudly say Alabama can proudly say, yeah, he used to play here. So I've tried to stay out of trouble for the most part, doing that. But just playing that game to me is the greatest game there. It teaches you no other sport in the world where you practice as long as you practice for 60 minutes on Saturday or Friday night, Saturday night or Sunday. That you go through all you go of fun. And I tell everybody, stand by this. For 21 years, not one did I run out to press and go, woo, I'm glad to be like this. Hey, yes, sir. Let's get out of luck. But it was fun. When you walked out on, turn the light. So there was just that was the best thing there was. And so I'll go through Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays in the misery and the heat, and you're hurt, and you got fingernails ripped off. You're always hurting. Something's always. I didn't realize my body hurt. I didn't realize how bad my body hurt till after I retired about a year. I went, God, I was just walking. No. And so the sport, being in Alabama, being able to play, to me, the greatest was ever invented. is, it was an honor, and I was very blessed that I got to do it at different levels that I got. And it's all, people go, well, I just played high school this. And I'm like, you played the game. The stage might have been a little brighter, but it's still, you got to run out on that field with other guys that you probably had nothing in common with, some of them. Different lifestyles, different backgrounds, different economics, and you all came in just one. And the funny thing about it is, in college pro, and there's guys I haven't talked to since I left Tampa. There's guys I haven't talked to since Alabama for whatever reason. But if they called me or they said, hey, look, I don't have a place to stay, my house is always open to them. Don't care who they are. You can come stay at my house. Then that you went through, and I have utmost respect for you. And it's open to those guys. And then, of course, I love getting together, not at funerals, but and it's so weird because we always pick up right where we left off. Me and Wes, I may not take 6 months, and he'll call me, and for some reason, we just picked 6 months ago. And it's, we'll sit there and talk, laugh, and carry on. And then it may be another 6 months before I see him again. And then we're just like, it's like I've seen him every day. Talked to Jimbo Salem today. He, just it's just so natural and just so easy when you've gone through body that it's just, you look with respect, and it's very blessed for that. Certainly
Curt?
could be more thankful.
I was just going to tell you, depending on how things go in the courts here in the next few days or next few weeks, you might be able to get that year of eligibility back.
Let me say this, and I'll quote the famous Toby Keith. I ain't as good as I once was, but I can give them one play. I'll give them one, and after that, I'm able to get up. I'll give them, and there's nothing then. And I don't know how muscles I'll tell you this. If I got one more shot, everything like I did, I don't know how long I'd last. Well, I know how long.
Yeah, one play.
So
there you go. Well, man, as you look back to your Alabama career, everything, the practice, the injuries, the wins, the losses, all the stuff that you walked through, what are you most proud of?
Oh. I've been asked this question. And there's a lot that it's when I say I'm proud of this, proud of that. The good Lord gave me some ability to give other people. I was blessed enough to have great parents. I was blessed enough to have the coaches. And I was presented with opportunities that maybe so me looking back and say, well, I'm proud of myself for that. They're not, because I was just along for the ride. I really was. I was along for the ride. So, but people always ask, what are you most proud of? I'm most proud of my kids, because I've got great kids. I mean, they're go-getters. And it's, they have passion, and I'm so thankful for that. They have passions. But if I had to separate and go, what are you, football wise, I guess I'm proud of the friends that I made. I'm proud that I went through some hard times with some really good guys, and guys that, I don't get to see enough. But when I do get to see them, so you know, like I tell you who I see more than anybody is Chris Moore. I see Chris Moore. I mean, we're together all the time. And so, you know, even with him, I'm proud of my friendships that I've made. You know, my teammates, and like Chris, I see Chris. I'm proud of, you know, when he comes to the house, which is off time, you know, which is great. And you know, I'm proud of that friendship that I have with him. I'm proud of when I talk to Wes. I'm proud of our friendship. Tommy Cole, I see Tommy Cole, and I'm up here near Tommy Cole, and you know, it's just when they come over. You know, sometimes you have company, you're like, oh, we got to figure out something to talk about. Da da da. When these guys come over, it's like I'm in the dorm again. You know, we can't talk like we used to talk because now we have wives and got, you know. But I mean, Tommy come over. I ain't seen Tommy. I talked to him several times, but I ain't seen Tommy since 4th of July. If he walked through that door right now, I'd be like, hey, sit down, man. And it'd be just like us going into each other's dorm room. So that's, you know, I guess you could say proud, but more thankful than anything. You know, it just that I've got these guys that I can go, you know, and I'm so proud of this. It's when I take somebody with me and I introduce them to a friend, I go, yeah, he played with me at Alabama. That's, you know, that makes me proud. You know, besides the kid thing.
Well, Kurt, wrapping up, your answer kind of leads into this next question. How do you want to be remembered? Not just as a player, but as a person?
Lord, that's a tough one. You know, my wife says I'm too giving. I'm too big hearted. Sometimes I probably am. But I had a guy one time I played high school with, and to me, I took this as a great compliment. And he made me feel, you know, and his name was Jerome Jackson. And Jerome, I hadn't seen him in 10 years, 15 years when I finally ran into him again. We played high school together. And we started talking. He said, you know, one thing I was so impressed about you, he goes, when you were out on that field, and when you were inside those white lines, he goes, you were an animal. You were mean and da-da-da. You gave it everything you had. He said, but when you stepped across that white line, he goes, you were just a good guy. Mm-hmm. And I never thought about that, but I go, thank you. You know, so I hope people remember me as someone who gave it everything I had, you know, and then I hope they don't look at me as going, well, you know, he was a football player. He acts like a football player off the field. I'm glad that somebody, and it may have been just him, but differentiating myself from when I was playing to when I was not on that field, when I was not inside those white lines. That, you know, so, you know.
Great way to be remembered.
So,
right.
Well, Curt, thank you for sharing your story with us. You represent what Alabama football is really all about. Resilient, the brotherhood that you talked about, and finding purpose beyond the game. And we appreciate you taking time to visit with us. And we want to close this episode, Crimson Chronicles podcast, same way we do every one. Leave our audience with a big roll tide. Roll tide.
Roll tide.
Roll tide.
Roll tide.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk with y'all.